This is a story about how a handsaw caused the ruin of a lifetime friendship. My wife and I were talking this morning, and a few people on my channel said they would like to hear a little bit of my personal stories. Well, this one comes from when I was about 8 or 9. That's going back pretty far. I have carpenters in my family. So many of my family members were carpenters that we just lost track. I mean, everyone seemed to be a carpenter. Most of them union carpenters. But this is a story about my uncle, my father's older brother. My father was the baby of the family, so all of the stories involving his siblings, they were older than he was. And everyone called him Red, my Uncle Red. Well, not sure what his name was, but he was Uncle Red. And Uncle Red, he'd worked very hard. He had saved up, and he lived in a very poor neighborhood. And he decided that since the home prices were so cheap, that when he could afford it and one came up for sale, he would buy them. By the time he passed away, he owned every home on both sides of the street, all the way down the block, around 20 homes. And then he would do the repairs, and the people just thought, well, the landlord, knowing Red, just hires Red and to do the maintenance work around here. And that way Red picks up extra cash. He never wanted anyone to know he owned them. But this is going back when he first started doing it. And he was remodeling a home that he had just purchased that had 2 bedrooms and a car and a half garage. And after some study, because although my Uncle Red talked slow, and he had a real slow southern drawl, he wasn't stupid. He knew that a 3-bedroom house got more money every month than a 2-bedroom with an attached garage. So he turned that garage into a 3rd bedroom. He turned it into the master bedroom. Very nice bedroom. But when he was remodeling it, he had a friend, a carpenter, lifelong friend, that in the wintertime, back when I was young, carpenters didn't work year round. You shut down in the winter. Only emergency jobs got done in the wintertime. So his friend's out of work, he's out of work, so he decides to remodel the house and hire his friend. His friend didn't charge him a lot, just a few bucks. And so the way they used to do it back in the day, the garage stepped down 4 or 5 inches. Well, he didn't want that step down on a concrete floor. So they took 2x6s and cut them to fit, contoured them to the floor, and that way they had a wooden floor. So they used these joist system on top of the concrete, and then they laid plywood down. And after they laid the plywood down, he had a carpet man come in and install the carpet. But he was missing one of his favorite crosscut saws. Now, you see, back in the day, carpenters didn't have power saws. A skill saw, unheard of. They used rip saws and crosscut saws. First saws I ever used helping my dad was a rip saw. And let me tell you, To this day, I can't stand trying to cut a long cut with a rip saw. I won't do it. I have a skill saw. I have a worm drive saw. I have all kinds of tools that I can do it with. Well, I haven't done it for years. Don't even get me started about my Yankee screwdriver. A lot of people don't even know what it is. But so his saw is missing, and it was just the two of them in the house. Well, my uncle, he's a smart man, but he's also a cob, and we are self-destructive. He got upset with his friend. He asked his friend, "Where's my saw?" He said, "I don't know where your saw is." "It's your saw. What do you mean?" "I never used your saw. I used my saw." "No, no, no. I saw you were using my saw, and now it's missing." Well, an argument soon developed into almost a fist fight, and to which his friend said, "Wait a minute, Red, I know where that saw is. It's under that floor in that old garage. You were in there putting in some cross members, and you were using the CROSSCUT saw, and you laid it down in between the floor joists, and then we just plywooded right over it. We didn't see it." Well, my Uncle Red, being hothead, like most cob men are, he called him a liar and said, "No, you stole it." And it's amazing how something is. Now, if his friend needed a saw, I know my Uncle Red, he would have gladly bought this man a saw as a gift. But the fact that he felt the man stole it and then lied to him. And his friend, I'm sure, was feeling like, hey, we've known each other for most of our lives. We're best friends. I wouldn't steal from you. So they each took a hardened stance. Well, fast forward 12, 15 years. See, back in the day, they didn't use pressure treated material. They didn't put creosote on them. They just cut them, the floor joists that were sitting right on concrete. So after 12, 15 years, that floor had to be taken up and reinstalled. My uncle couldn't hardly do it, so he hired a few guys, and then my uncle, being a cob man, stood in the room and watched them work. And they pulling up some plywood, and one guy says, "Hey, there's a saw under here." To which my uncle said, my heart sank. And sure enough, laying there right in between the floor joists, just like my friend had said, was my saw. And he said, my heart sank, because no matter how much he wanted to apologize for that and make it right, he couldn't. That friend had passed away a few years earlier. But now my uncle's holding his saw. Rusted? Yes, it was rusty. But he had his saw. His friend never took it. He had accused his friend of theft. And now there's no way he can make it right because his friend passed away. See, what could have been a great friendship, a good friendship all those years, it could have been a great one in retirement, to sit around. Like my dad used to say, we'd stop off at the coffee shop. "What are you old farts sitting around lying to each other about today?" But all that was wasted because he jumped the gun. Well, over the years, every time I've thought of this story, I've thought about my uncle and how I know he regretted what he said to his friend, the friend that he lost over a stupid saw. But it makes me think of the times when all of us jump to conclusions, accuse people of things. Sometimes we don't accuse them openly. We just think it in the back of our heads. And how much better our life would be if we would just let it go. We can't take back things that we say. You know, the old saying of words are like toothpaste. Once they come out, you can't take them back. How many times in life have we said something that we wish we could take back? I know my uncle wishes his friend would have still been alive so he could have made things right. So we need to be careful and cautious because we may not be able to make things right if we wait too long to take the situation under control and just admit our flaws and be kind to each other. Well, that's my Saw story. My uncle passed more than a few years ago now. It's been probably 20 years ago. Funny thing, at the funeral, my wife is sitting on one side of me, my dad's sitting on the other, and the preacher's talking about my Uncle Red. And my dad's sitting there. He leans in and he said, "Son, I need you to go up there and take a peek in that casket. I think we're at the wrong funeral because I have no idea who this man is this preacher's talking about." Now, we were at the right funeral. That's the way brothers are with each other. Well, that's all Grandpa Chuck has to say today. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one. Hit that like and share button. Nobody's going to watch my videos if folks don't share it. Right down there. No, over to the left a little. Right, there it is. Yeah, that's it. See you in the next one, folks. Bye.